Welcome to this FEI Coach webinar chat with Stephen Crowley from Everton AFC in Cork. I'm Gareth Marr, and we're going to focus on the return to safer training and how that's been affected at grassroots level. Stephen, how has the whole process been for you guys down in Cork?
Thanks for having me on. First of all, Gareth, I suppose it's been a challenging one, to be honest with you, Gareth. We've had to kind of just go stage by stage as we've received more information from yourselves in the FAI and from the government. We've just kind of reacted as we've gotten the information in. Naturally enough, the information is kind of still coming in, so you just kind of we look to adapt as the information comes in to us.
What has been the big kind of challenges for you in kind of preparing to get onto the training pitch in the first sense?
Yeah, well, I suppose we would kind of our adults, Gareth, would play in Everton Park, which is a facility that the club would own themselves, and then the schoolboy section of the club would play and train in community field called Coffee's Field. It's a community pitch there that was looked after by the Toco Community Association. So we've kind of have to look at it in two completely separate pieces, Gareth. Naturally enough, with our own facilities, we can control those and we can kind of adjust and make amendments as we see fit. So I suppose the first thing we've done from a club point of view, Gareth, is that we appointed Gary O'Connell as our COVID officer. So Gary would just kind of be the touching point for any club members to, if they have any questions, queries, that Gary is the man that they go back to. So Gary then would kind of liaise with the executive of the committee as to what we need to do, the do's and don'ts. So I suppose it's kind of last week since the adults started to come back into our own complex in Everton Park. So look, that has seen a bit of change for the adults. Naturally enough, there's no dressing room facilities. That's probably the most standout thing for adult players, Gareth. So that's been a bit of a change. They all bring their own water now. We don't really give out bibs at training. There's no contact matches. There's no picking up the footballs. It has brought an extra workload onto, I suppose, those that help out teams, because naturally enough, stuff has got to be disinfected before use and after use. In between, we've a COVID officer for each team. We felt that was the easiest way to do it, Gareth, so that at the end of every training session, they would upload their tracing sheets onto a club system that Gary O'Connell, then as head of COVID, would monitor. But that probably sounds very technical. In a lot of instances, it could be just a sheet with who's been in attendance. Somebody takes a photograph and they've just uploaded that to the club. So the adults are back now. So we kind of made a conscious effort. We bring the adults back first, Gareth, because I suppose naturally enough, you would hope adults would be a little bit easier to control than what some of the schoolboys would be, although it's not always the case, naturally enough. So we're back with the adults now with a view for our schoolboys coming back within the next week or two. Okay. So that's just a little bit challenging, because our field committee representative there, Sean Cotter, would liaise with the Toco Community Association as to what we need to do with them to get those facilities back open and ensure that everything is adhered to as well. So that's just, it takes a little bit longer, naturally enough.
In terms of that process of using the COVID officer as well, the communication is really important, isn't it, to kind of relay all the relevant information to the players and the coaches?
Absolutely, Gareth. So what we have is we've got managers' WhatsApp groups within the club. So it's very easy for Gary to kind of communicate. It's a flick of a button and everybody's getting the same message. We held the adult managers meeting before any of the adult teams went back, probably last Friday week. So just to kind of, so Gary could kind of say, look, the do's and don'ts and what we want to see and what we don't want to see. And then we'll hold a schoolboys workshop this Thursday night in Everton Park for the schoolboy managers, again, just to run through the do's and don'ts and what's not. And then we will look to do the same for our academy, which will return probably the week after. So again, we'll just bring the coaches in and kind of run through the do's and don'ts. And look, who knows what might have changed in between then, Gareth. So it's very much a moving piece, and I suppose you just got to kind of keep moving with it, really,
Yeah, that's interesting that you do the WhatsApp group, so that you can, it's constant feedback, constant information, and then the meetings as well, because the information relayed to the coaches, it's so important, because essentially the coaches they're the leaders here, really, in terms of operating everything.
Absolutely, Gareth. And I suppose what we've done is that, I suppose me as chairman or any of the executive committee, we try not to answer any COVID questions. We relay them all to Gary, because otherwise there could be mixed messages, mixed communication. So that's something that we're very religious with, that any questions Gary answers. I suppose it's very easy for people to pick the phone up to, the usual chairman, secretary, treasurer. So we keep the communicating. It's not lost in translation with anybody. Gary answers any COVID related question within the club. We've one man that answers it. That's been very helpful. But certainly the communication, we would have shared the slides, Garrett, that you would have distributed to clubs there, the kind of the things that the coaches do, the things that the players do, and we will share the ones for the parents in after Thursday night's meeting, once we start to look to get the schoolboys back on the training pitch also.
And that's going to be important again from a coach's point of view for when the school kids come back, because they're going to be so eager to get back straight into it and run around and want to get involved.
Yeah, and look, kids will be kids, Garrett, at the end of the day. And I suppose one thing that we do have to be mindful of, I suppose, managers and coaches have 1,001 things to do on it for a training session. Look, they're probably prepping and organising a training session the day before. So I suppose parents won't know it yet, but certainly the plan will be, Garrett, that after Thursday night's meeting is that we will look for a parent from each team to become the COVID officer that would just look after the tracking and tracing, especially of all those that are attending, and just keep an eye out to ensure that, the coaches are busy on at a training session at all levels. So we will be leaning on parents just to give us a little bit of a dig out and a bit of a hand, Garrett, because to be honest, I feel it's impossible for a manager and coach, possibly, depending on your numbers, just trying to keep everything together. It's hard and it's strenuous at the best of the time. So we will look for parents at schoolboy levels and down into academy, just to a couple for each team, just to oversee and ensure that everything is as it should be.
And obviously safety is the priority here, so for everybody, so that we can return to normality as quickly as we can. But I suppose you kind of have to slow everything down a little bit, don't you? Like even, for example, like if the ball goes out of play, make sure that it's either a new football or it's disinfected or
and it'll take a while for every one of us, Gareth, to get used to that, for the however long that's going to be in place. I suppose it's instinct for somebody to pick up a ball and throw the ball to somebody else. We've even had to look at things like our security in Everton Park, the amount of people that would actually open and close the locks. So these are things that you don't necessarily think about, but when you sit back and you kind of go, right, actually, how many people have keys and how many people hold the lock when they're going to open it? So they're all things. And we were saying, right, will we the players sign in when they come into training, but then ultimately if they're all signing in using the same pen, you've got a problem. So hence we've said, right, no, one person is responsible for each thing. And even things like bibs, Gareth, because I suppose we sat back and these are all mental things that I'm actually having a discussion with you around bibs. But when you think about it, if you've 20 adults or 15 adults or 10 adults, whatever the case may be, and the same with schoolboys, if you're handing out bibs, the players are handing you back bibs, you're handing them into the bag, you're taking them out with your hands and you're putting them into your washing machine. When you slow it all down, so ultimately what we do now is we're not giving out bibs until things settle down another little bit, because again, it's just all the touch points. And look, you have to protect your players, but ultimately you have to protect the coaches as well. That's equally as important. So, we've linked up with a local gent there in Cork, Gary McCarthy Trophies, and Gary is making personalised water bottles, and we've encouraged all our members to go and get your personalised water bottle with your name emblazed on it, or engraved on it rather, so that it's fine saying bring your own water, but what happens if 10 guys rock up with a bottle of 1 litre of Alvic and you're kind of going, so small things like that, Gareth. So that's I suppose we're trying to do as best we can, but it's not easy, and it's a challenge, there's no doubt about that.
How have you found the cooperation from players, coaches, volunteers?
Yeah, it's been very good, but I think a lot of that down to, Garrett, is that they were bursting to get back.
Sure.
They would have done anything to get back, to be honest with you. So it's been very good, but I suppose what we'd be conscious of is that, the next couple of weeks, it's fine to be very good for the first week or two, and then kind of going, look, things are fine. It's to ensure that it's adhered to, as long as that, you have to do X, Y, and Z, that we look to ensure that we're doing X, Y, and Z. Obviously, there's some changes coming that I think from the 29th of June, you can possibly play a challenge game within your club, and, all different things like that. So we'll cross all those bridges when we get there, Gareth, but we certainly won't be rushing into anything, because I suppose we just want to ensure that everybody's safe. That's all the main goal, really,
Stephen, sounds like you're doing great work already, like, in that slow return, and a lot even advice there of kind of slowing it down, and some of the measures you've put in place sound terrific.
Yeah, no, look, as I say, it's been very much a team effort by everybody. Gary O'Connell has been very good. Shawnee Cotter there, who would liaise with the Field Association, Ger Stanton, Donald Kelly there. It's not just really one person involved in it, Garrett. It's your ground staff, it's the equipment manager, it's your whole committee is, and the whole club is actually involved in it when you peel it all back, Garrett, that because everybody has their own little piece to play, as I say, your equipment manager, your facilities manager within Everton Park. It's a hard piece to probably manage because there's so many different aspects to it, Garrett, and it is hard. And look, I'm not saying we're perfect, but we're certainly trying our best with it, Garrett.
Well, it sounds great. It's great to get that feedback and insight, Stephen, on what you're doing down in Everton. So best of luck going forward, and thanks very much.
No problem at all, Garrett. Thanks for your time.